Okay, it is 1 o'clock and it is time to get started. Welcome to Good News in Parks, everybody. We are so glad to have you here. My name is Anne Marie Spencer, and it is so hard to believe that it is almost the end of the season. It's just, we have this episode and one more episode left this year, but we're already working on next year's show for you based on your feedback in the show polls, emails, post-show surveys. We say it all the time, but this is your show and all the ideas come from you. So please keep them coming. First of all, a big thank you to Tim Tron and Gloria Weems in the audience for today's opening quotes. And remember, you have opportunities to share your favorite motivational quotes as well with us in that post-show survey, so we can share them on the show. So most of all, we want to thank you, all of you, for your viewership and your loyalty. We are here because of you, with you, and for you. Also want to say don't miss December's show. We'll talk more about that later, but we're going to have some fun announcements for you on register, some other exciting new features we're going to launch next year. So you know how it goes. There is an opportunity for you to ask our panel questions during the whole session using the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. So please do that. We know you're going to have lots of questions for this dynamic panel. And we'll also have 3 polls for you today as well. But first, my amazing co-host Jody Adams is going to introduce our guests and share some national news. Go for it, Jody.
All right. Anne-Marie, I cannot wait for even our, not only this show, next show, but next season. Oh my gosh. All right, let's go for our esteemed panelists here. Here we go. Wendy Thomas, Assistant City Manager, City of Herriman, Utah. She oversees several city departments, including the Parks and Recreation Department, where she was director prior to her current position of Assistant City Manager. And she also leads the actual Park Foundation within the community. Prior to joining City of Herriman, she was the Associate Director of City of South Jordan, Utah, and was Associate Instructor at University of Utah. Also, City of Herriman has been recognized for 2 years straight as a top place to work in the state of Utah by Salt Lake Tribune. Finally, City Manager's office plays a key role in developing that great place to work and that culture. Wendy, so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Brian Zimmerman, CEO, Cleveland, Ohio, Metroparks and nationally acclaimed Cleveland Zoo. Fellow member, American Academy of Parks and Recreation Administration. He also leads the 5 times people, gold medal plaque recipient, and also the 2021 gold plaque recipient of populations over 400,000 people for the Gold Medal Award program. Congratulations on that, Brian, and your department. He has also been recognized as Professional of the Year by the National Association of County Parks and Recreation Officials and the Ohio Parks and Recreation Association. Prior to joining Cleveland Metro, he served as Chief of Operations for Milwaukee County Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Department. Brian, excited to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much, and happy Veterans Day, everyone.
You bet. All right, Sherisha, sorry about that, but I'm trying. Hill, Director, City of Tampa, Florida, Parks and Recreation. She has been instrumental in building the Tampa Parks and Recreation Department into a nationally recognized department, operating at the highest level of management excellence. The department was most recently recognized as the 2021 Grand Plaque recipient of the Gold Medal Award for 150,000 to 400,000 population. She has been involved as a leader for over 500 events for the City of Tampa on an annual basis. But here's the highlight. She was part of the City of Tampa who host a successful Super Bowl 55 in the midst of the pandemic. Wow. That is amazing. Leadership has always been second nature to her. Here's the example. She's always been top in academics, and she was a standout basketball athlete at the University of Notre Dame. Welcome to the show, Sherisha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Good news, national news. As our communities and park systems support various Veterans Day celebrations today and over the weekend, honoring our military armed forces for their service and sacrifice across the country and abroad. It's important for us to know why and when this special day started. And many of my colleagues here have actually helped me with this. We were actually first known about this holiday, and it was really created at the end of World War I. In addition, President Eisenhower renamed officially this day, Veterans Day, in 1954. But here's was the key. It actually was notified and recognized when it was chosen of the 11th hour of the 11th month in 1918 at the end of World War I. Not many people know that. I didn't know it, and I really appreciate all the help on that. So colleagues, it's so worth it, everything we do. We know that for our military families and our communities to recognize their sacrifice and service. Colleagues, also, I want to make you aware, and thank you, John Peru. He helped me so much with this. Our field has amazing full-time positions with military recreation. So on our military bases, not only domestically, but also abroad, we have over 28,000 positions in military recreation. So right now, John mentioned this week to us and helped us with this. We have 700 positions open in military recreations. So I know, so professionals, jump on it. It's a fantastic career, but you can go to actually MWR Employment if you would like to be with the Military Welfare Recreational Job Corps. Please join in. We need you. And then finally, two recent resources, important resources for you. We have Breaking Down the Infrastructure and Jobs Act on NRPA blog right now by Kyle Simpson. Check that out. It gives you every delineation of all the money that has been voted on within the past week. Then second of all, there is a brand new study, Management Challenges in Parks and Recreation Agencies, 10 emerging themes. This will help you with your management. You won't feel alone, but that was actually a research and development that was recognized by the American Academy of Parks and Recreation Administration. So I would go to nrpa.org or go to the AARPA website.org to actually get that information on that resource. All right, let's move on with our panelists on question number one. Again, all these questions come from you, the audience, and your surveys in advance. So let's move on. All three of your agencies and communities have been the leaders in community innovation, park policy, and managing consistently at a high level of excellence. When aiming for the gold standard, what is the secret to your agencies or your city culture? In addition, talk about working with elected or appointed public officials to garner their support of this culture. And let's start off with you, Wendy.
Great. So we have based our culture around the phrase, "We are Herriman." It's posted all over City Hall and on all of our city vehicles. When you ask our employees what that means, it's really, we're helping each other succeed. We're helping our city move forward. The basic premise of it is that we're aligned to get things done and to serve our citizens and our residents and our guests that visit us. We support the city. We want our employees to succeed so we are successful, and we are a great workplace. We have a wonderful recognition program. It's called Culture Coins. This is one of our Culture Coins. And any employee can give that to another employee across the city for going above and beyond or helping out with a project or service. That has been a successful program. When you get a Culture Coin, you get to turn it in to our gift card shop for a gift card. We also do a lot of swag. Our employees love our swag. I've got some examples here. We do a lot of mugs. We do socks. And this year, you mentioned that we've been nominated as a best places to work for 2 years. We actually just got our third year. And
wow.
This year we've been celebrating, or this week, we've been celebrating with food trucks and treats and sodas and all sorts of additional swag. This year we did these nice OGO backpacks for our staff. And we just really work to brand our city and bring our employees in on that. Another thing that we like to do is we use the Arbinger Institute Leadership and Self-Deception, and all of our employees go through that program to really think out of the box, think about how the actions that we take impact our coworkers. So we do a lot of different things. We really strive to be a great place to work and appreciate our employees for the great work they do.
You have a fantastic community. I've been through your community. I've seen your ice ribbon. Oh my gosh, amazing innovation. But I just want to say thank you so much for being here, because we really needed to get this out about how you're really branding. It's amazing. Brian.
Well, thank you so much again on this Veterans Day for hosting this wonderful panel. I think it's interesting that our park agency now is 104 years old. And by kind of breaking it down, we're very unique. We're a special park district. We only have one elected official. There's only been 9 probate judges in the 104-year history. There's only been 36 park commissioners and only 6 heads of the agency. And when you talk about leading and you talk about the gold standard, consistency and continuity is certainly one of the things that I think comes to mind, at least in Cleveland. The fact that we are a public agency that spans 6 counties. Our authority, our taxing authority is Cuyahoga County and Hinckley Township, but we have land in the counties surrounding us. We are very blessed with over 70,000 acres worth of preserved green space between all of our partner agencies across Northeast Ohio, and including the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Most recently, we are in the process of setting up for our next levy campaign. Our park district remains debt-free after 104 years, so we have not bonded or borrowed money. And we continue to strive to work forward to create opportunities for the community. But during our most recent strategic planning process, it's been highlighted as the best public partnership agency. And to me, that's one of the secret sauces, is when we can work together with folks at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District on projects. We're doing a great project in Garfield that we'll talk about. The Port Authority, Irishtown Bend, CDC's West Creek Conservancy. We're looking at redoing a 25-acre park that is migrating towards the Cuyahoga River. We just now most recently elected a new mayor. I'm part of the transition team here in Cleveland, and the focus is going to be on the environment and equity. And so there are a number of different things that kind of roll forward. When I talk about the culture of the agency, the thing that really comes to mind is our people. Without our people, culture can kill strategy. And we have 943 full and part-time and seasonal employees. We do onboarding for a week. We do crucial conversations. One of the biggest things is, we need to know how to interact with each other. And there's things sometimes that come to work with us, right? And we don't always check it at the time clock. And sometimes we have to work through those things. Managers leading for success. And then we have crucial accountability as well as part of our culture. Our team came up with core values. And I love Wendy's swag. I think that's one of the best things that you can do. When people want your items, I'm wearing my Metroparks logo. We have it branded fully between all of our different locations. And it's just really nice and humbling to see people. I want that. I know that that's Metroparks. I love the Metroparks, and they call it my Metroparks.
Well, it's obvious when you actually hit Cleveland, you know that you're within Cleveland Parks metro area. And it is amazing the way that you administer an amazing urban department. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And also, I just want to shout out to your zoo cruise. I visited there, and we modeled after your zoo, many of our exhibits in different areas. So thanks a lot. I appreciate that, Brian. Great job.
Absolutely.
All right, Sherisha, it's your turn.
All right, thank you again for having me. I think for us here, the culture, and you talked about public and elected officials, it actually starts at the top with us. So we have a mayor, and we also have 7 elected council members. But our motto here in Tampa is the best place to live, work, and play. And when we talk about those, the play kind of starts with us, and we take that seriously. And with FRPA, their motto here is it starts in parks. So that's the motto we have. It starts in parks, and then Tampa is the best place to live, work, and play. It is for our culture here, just like me playing basketball, it's a team. It's a team. We all know that we play a crucial role within our own department, but also we work closely with other departments as well. We know we can't do this by ourselves. We partner with a lot of great sports teams, local agencies that are also around here, local small minority businesses, large businesses to make this happen. We really pride ourselves on training our staff, training to be the best, training to work together, the teamwork, the inside of our city, outside of our city. We're not ashamed to go and ask other people, what are you doing? Wendy, again, like Brian said, I love the swag. I'm going to take some of those ideas on creating the swag and the coins, but really working together. So our culture here is we're a team. We're only good as the last person that we hire, that we bring on. 500 people during the year, and then we bring another 250 on in the summer. So we're almost at 800 staff when we're rolling here in the summer. We have a lot of parks, but we know that we can't do it alone. And then the most important people that really makes this happen is our community. We strive on building that relationship. We are relationship builders. We work with them. We build the culture with them, for them, about them. And so that's how we kind of make this team over here work.
I'm just so impressed with your background. When I've seen how you've grown up through the department and you were a leader of that park operations and everything, you are Tampa Parks and Recreation. And it is wonderful what you have done there. And you know what? You're right. I've seen you, I've watched and read about how you actually manage. And you do. You are there on the front line. And you actually go back out there. That's your favorite part, it seems like, in your world of Parks and Recreation. Thank you so much for those comments. On to you, Anne Marie. Let's go for our first poll.
All right, that sounds good. So as you know, we mentioned at the beginning that we are actively shaping next season's show for 2022. So our poll questions today are designed to help us understand what kind of things that you're looking for, what your goals are, what you'd like to see. So our first question is all around goals. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this one, and panelists, you can vote as well. We want to know simply, what is your biggest goal for next year? Is it managing, tracking attendance at your parks? Is it opening new parks? Building new infrastructure, and that can be any kind of infrastructure whatsoever, from sidewalks to restrooms to playgrounds, whatever it is, any kind of infrastructure. Increasing your staff. I know there was a lot of reduction in staff, especially with COVID, and people are dealing with that now and dealing with the increased usage of parks. So that's certainly an important goal. Launching new programs. And again, that can be any kind of program for any age group or learning or whatever that might be, internal or public facing programs. Capturing data, measuring data, understanding what's going on in your parks in lots of different ways. Grants or other funding, or something else. And as always, we have that something else bucket in there. We can't capture, obviously, all of the answers. There's only a limited amount of space that we have for responses in Zoom. So we like to put that something else in there, so that if it is something else that you are seeing as your biggest goal, please choose that one. And then let us know in the Q&A what that goal is, so that we can share it with the audience as well. So we're going to give everybody about 10, 20 more seconds here to vote. I see some folks are still voting. And we will end the poll in 3, 2, 1. And let's share the results. Increasing staff, no surprise there. That is the biggest goal, but also new infrastructure and new programs and grants, which would all play into that fact. We know that people are using parks now more than ever, which is awesome. I think if there's anything good to come out of COVID, it is that people are understanding the value of our parks and what they can do for them physically, mentally, just having a wonderful place to go and recreate, not to mention all the other amazing programs that our parks offer. We say that over and over, and we hear that from a lot of the folks who are not in parks who watch the show, and they are constantly amazed at all the things that you do besides maintaining that beautiful green space that that everybody loves. So thanks everybody for that. We'll have a couple more polls in a few minutes, and I'll go ahead and turn it back to you, Jody.
All right, question number 2, panelists. All of you have developed various types of cutting-edge innovations throughout your agencies and communities. Others are striving to model or replicate these innovations in some ways. Discuss some of your organization's innovations. And Brian, please start us off with this question.
Well, it's great to be talking about innovation in parks for sure, and I think there's a number of different ways to look at it. We had record visitation this past year. 19.4 million visitors came through the parks, and the parks are really there for the people. one of the challenges we found, what about the people that can no longer have a park experience? And we we partnered with university hospitals on some AR, VR, some virtual reality. Our teams, we have our own videographer on staff who went out and recorded hours and hours and hours of footage. We worked tirelessly for almost a year to get through all of the protocols in a hospital for the Seidman Cancer Center. And now we're providing video footage of park experiences while cancer patients are taking treatment. And they're finding that they're taking the treatments much better because they're actually so much more relaxed in a setting that's more natural to them, and it's bringing the parks to them. So it could be a fishing experience, it could be a hike, it could be a bird watch, it could be a number of different things. So that's one very creative passion project. We're mining Bitcoin. Believe it or not, we built a brand new facility for our technology center, and we found that it was running, we had to keep balancing and we were spending more on electric. By mining 3 Bitcoin miners, we actually reduced our energy capacity by $100 a month. So not only were we mining, but we're actually bringing dollars back into the park district. We now are mining Ethereum as well. And so as those currencies become more acceptable, we have ways to actually receive them in donations and grants, and we can continue to really be creative and innovative that way. And we talk about, we were talking a little bit, Jody, about the zoo. The innovation and the space and what the new zoos look like. And we are embarking on a $90 million campaign with our Zoological Society. We've raised well over $40 million at this point in time, but to create a new gorilla habitat. And some of the innovation that's going on there, our newest baby that's on the ground after 139 years was not necessarily well received by its mother. And Freddie, one of the long-term gorillas, picked her up. What's remarkable about that is that the birth mother is actually submitting to have the breast milk pumped to actually be able to move the breast milk over. We believe that's the first time in an American zoo that's happened. And the fact that we're working so hard with this husbandry side of things. So again, we're a very unique facility with our special park district status, running a zoo, running 8 golf courses and nature centers. We're not quite that municipal system. So, as we continue to look forward, we were built on the riparian system. So we have the Cuyahoga River, which was infamous for the Clean Water Act, the burning river. We have the Rocky River and the Chagrin River, and we're continuing to find ways to partner with local agencies to return cleaner water into our Great Lakes, into Lake Erie. And so we continue to work forward. We're very adaptive. We are downstate lobbying often to change things for the betterment of the region. And this year we created, or last year during the pandemic, we did a drive-through zoo concept. And that was really an innovative, creative way. And we got so many warm welcome thank you letters for people that actually said, I couldn't go to the zoo anymore. I didn't feel comfortable. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do this. The very first car that went through, a little boy was standing on top of the council with his head through the sunroof. And I'm like, that's exactly what we were looking for. So we found an innovative way to bring the zoo to people during the pandemic where they didn't feel comfortable.
Well, you can tell we're all smiling about that because that's what it's all about. I mean, when you talk about that young child doing that, and bottom line is, Brian, with your innovation, it has been amazing. With we have a lot of people that manage zoos that watch the show, so really appreciate you addressing that. Sherisha, please come forward. Let's talk about Tampa on this one.
Okay. Like everyone else in the pandemic, I think we really learned how to recreate how we program. So we did start a few programs. One, just typical virtual programs. So with our art studios, we were able to actually have the students go and get their own supplies, and we did virtual classrooms so that we can do live teaching from their home or from wherever they were at. One of the programs we love the most is that when the schools closed, we had some parents who lower income who could not afford Wi-Fi at home. Had parents actually say to us, sometimes we take for granted, $20 on paying or $30 on paying Wi-Fi, that's food on their table. So what we created was virtual classrooms. So for those kids who did not have Wi-Fi at home, we allowed them to come safely to our community center. We hired nurses, we hired teachers, and we had them come in. They used our computer labs. If they had their own technology, they can bring it in. We outfitted every single community center with Wi-Fi. And we had these virtual classrooms for them to come and spend that day. We also incorporated in that physical component. We added the art components if they were missing that, but we gave them a safe place where they can come and still continue on with their education. We also did laptops. So during the summertime, those kids who did have to go to summer school and they did not have that technology, and we're safely running summer camp at schools, we checked out a laptop for them to take home. So here's a laptop for you to take home. Here's your laptop or tablet, take it home. When you're done with summer school, which here in Tampa, it's a half day, then they'll come back and they'll spend the second half of their day in the summer camp program with us, bring the laptop back. But it's really reaching out to those families that need us. I mean, that's why we're here. And then the program we've done for a few years, and it'll never stop. We had, it's going on 6 years now, we had a teen who was killed outside of our park. It was late at night. We saw that there was a need for an area for teens, so we created a program called Stay and Play. So Stay and Play in our summertime starts after our summer camp program is over. It goes from 6 p.m. to midnight. They come in, we do activities with them, we feed them, we incorporate our police, we get other organizations that'll come in and work with them. Some of these kids, I know one, it told us, if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't have anything to eat at night. Like, this is why they come to us. So this is a program that we actually won a national award for. It will not stop. We modify during the school year, so we're in school time, they're not up till midnight, but in the summertime, we have them till midnight, and we provide a safe place for them.
You know, I was reading about your system. You know, you were already pivoting way beyond when we hit the pandemic. You were ready to go. You initiated programs, but you were already embracing almost 24/7 your community. So congratulations, because you already were equipped to handle the pandemic. Yes, it's been very hard and you've learned a lot, but way to go on that. Your staff is amazing. All right, Wendy, please bring us home on this question.
Well, I'll do my best. That's hard to follow up on those two. One thing I did figure out is that I need a zoo, because that's one thing that we don't have, but sounds fascinating to manage. So, you know, we had the pandemic, but another thing that we are experiencing here in Utah is severe drought. And so over the past year, actually, it's been about a 2-year project. We've been working with our local water district to implement water efficiency standards citywide. So all of our new construction are required to install low flow fixtures inside homes and commercial businesses, as well as using localscapes landscaping outside of the home. So we're no longer going to see acres of green turf in our city. And so we've also had to make some adjustments to the way we irrigate our parks. We've adjusted irrigation schedules. We've pulled way back. Our parks are not as green as they used to be, which is a good thing. We've implemented smart controllers citywide and are implementing localscapes in our park strips and in our parks that are not active. That includes detention basins and park strips and places where we're not scheduling play. We just continue to look for ways to conserve and be good stewards of our natural resources, and water efficiency standards have really helped us get there. So that's one of our innovations.
Well, it's a major innovation. When I went to your website, I loved it, how you had that on the front about your drought policies and the way you're addressing this, because it is foremost in most all of our minds how we're going to deal with this, with the climate change and moving forward with water. So folks, please go to their website, City of Herriman, Utah, because I'm telling you, they are the leader in policy development of the right way to do it. Thank you so much, Wendy. And let's move on to our next polls.
Yeah, absolutely. While we're on this topic of innovation, there was a question from Irene in the audience. Sherisha was wondering if you could speak a little bit to how you fund your virtual classroom program.
Yeah, so we actually received, when we created the program, received some sponsorships from local organizations, but the bulk of it really was our administration. We have a mayor that is absolutely supportive of Parks and Rec. She believes in what we do. She understands the impact we have on the community, and was able to reallocate funds. We're a general fund department, so she was able to find funds from elsewhere just to ensure that we were able to support our community. But really making those partnerships with the community. The Buccaneers, huge supporters of us, the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Tampa Bay Lightning, plus other organizations. They really believed in what we're doing and were able to step up to the plate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Partnerships can be so important. And those programs you were talking about, just, I'll tell you, they got my heart. I mean, that's just, that is awesome. And that, you know, that is, when I talk to people about this show, that is the one thing that I always say is you won't believe what these people are doing for the community. It's just absolutely incredible. So that's personal applause on that. I just think that's absolutely awesome. All right, our second poll question. Let's go ahead and launch this one. So this one is kind of interesting. If you could have a think tank of your peers and experts to help you implement something new, what would the goal or topic be? Would it be measuring diversity, equity, and inclusion, increasing revenue, data storytelling, summer camp ideas, promoting intergenerational park usage, creating innovative events, planning or executing large-scale renovations, new innovations in staffing and employee recognition, or something else? And as always, if it's something else, please put that in the chat so that we can share that. Interesting question. I think, you know, this is something we all think about, right? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It would be just fascinating to be able to pull a group of people together to just give you ideas and brainstorm and think about these things. And, you know, all of these are popular topics right now, certainly critical topics right now for parks. So just interesting to see if you had to pick one, what would it be? We'll give you just a couple more minutes here. A lot of voting still going on. The needles are moving around as everybody chooses a different answer. So kind of interesting there. And all right, we'll end this one in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's go ahead and share the results. New innovations in staffing and employee recognition. I love that one. Absolutely. It's certainly something that I think is great for no matter what you do, to recognize your staff and think about how to get and keep staff. What you were saying earlier, Jody, about John and MWR. I mean, that is just such a challenge right now across the country with getting folks to come, you know, fill your positions. It's just, who would have ever thought that would have been such a difficult thing, but it certainly is a challenge that we're feeling right now. Measuring diversity, equity, and inclusion, also very popular. Love to see that one. Love to see that getting the attention that it deserves. But you know, a lot of good choices all the way across the board. So thanks so much for that. We do have one more poll question here before we get back to the audience. And that third question from Jody. And that one is pretty simple. Which topics would you like to see covered in the 2022 season of Good News in Parks? We're putting this together right now. And interestingly, what we're trying to do is put together a full schedule for the whole year's shows for you guys. So you'll be able to see kind of what each show is going to be about, give you the opportunity to sign in and register for the ones that you want to see. So we're gonna be really forward thinking on that and get that scheduled to you early. We are working on it right now. Actually, I should say Jody's working on that. She is the guru of getting the guests. I'll tell you. I don't know.
We are all in this together.
You do a fabulous job with that, and you know it. So which topics would you like to see? Diversity, equity, and inclusion, data gathering and usage, funding, creative small departments, creative staffing, intergenerational design and programming, how to engage the public, young directors with fresh ideas, planning engaging infrastructure, or something else. And again, if it's something else, let us know. We do this show for you guys. So if there's something else you would like to see, please do put that in the chat for us so that we have an opportunity to see if we can fill that topic for you. This one's interesting. As I watch the voting, there's a couple of outstanding ones, but this one's really even across the board. So that's really exciting. So we are going to give you just a couple more minutes. I'll do that. Joseph said, thanks for putting this on. Thank you, Joseph, for being here, especially today on a holiday. We appreciate everybody in the audience today that's joined us on this very important Veterans Day. All right, let's go ahead and end the poll, and we're going to share this with you guys. Creative staffing, love it. That kind of goes in with the last one, doesn't it, about staffing recognition? So obviously staffing is top on everybody's mind. We'll make sure that we address that. Like I said, these are all really pretty even across the board here. A couple of folks said something else, so please share those ideas with us in the chat. And we will move on now. And Jody, I'm going to turn it back to you, and let's ask our guest panelists another question.
Well, you know, you alluded to next season too. I just want to mention, we're also working on a state report out by our state association. So stay tuned, everyone. A lot of great things are going on out there to help us all. All right, question number 3, panelists. What type of new projects or services are your organizations planning for 2022 and 2023? This is an open-ended question, but we wanted to make sure that we get to this before the end of the year. Sherisha, please go forward. You're the first one on this one.
Okay. One program we're looking at and we're developing now is an early childhood development program. So right now we service kids who are childhood age, so 5 and up. During the pandemic, we noticed, talking to our community members, that some of these daycares, early childhood development centers, unfortunately closed and did not open back up. Again, when I said we were community-based and we listened to our community, there is a need there. So we are looking to start a program for 3 to 5-year-olds. So we'll prep them and get them ready, almost like a VPK program, ready for kindergarten. So that will be one of the new and innovative programs we're working on now, getting outfitting current community centers so that we could utilize them to get them going. So that is really big for us. It's something that we've done before, but not at this level. We've done, you know, maybe a 2 or 3 hour program, but to have something that is truly a full day and to meet the need of certain community areas in our community. That is one of the programs. And then the second program we started a little bit this year. I am big on developing staff and youth and getting them incorporated into the workforce. So we work with our newly director of our workforce development, and we started a program for young adults ages 16 to 24, introducing them into the workforce. So they'll come in with us. We have a great partner in Career Source. They're able to provide the funding. We provide the jobs and the training. And right now we have about 13 young adults that have entered into Parks and Rec workforce. We'll take them around and move them throughout the various divisions on our team, but introduce them into the workforce. And some of them we've actually hired on permanently with us. But it really is developing our community and getting them involved. But getting these young adults, again, there's that need that's there. And I'm a firm believer, either we get them or somebody else is going to get them. And we want them in the right way. So that's the big program. You know, Jody, you said it before, I am big on this community. I'm Tampa born and raised. This is home. But I also understand the community. I'm out there and I try and keep my ears to the ground. And these are some of the things. And again, the staff are out there as well. They hear it, they bring it back. And if we can make it happen, we try to. So those are 2 programs that are pretty big and pretty near and dear to my heart. So
Invaluable programs. And, you know, really daycare, we know is very important right now for getting people back to work, but just getting back in the rhythm of being able to get to that workforce. But, you know, here's the key. We know schools and parks are the biggest, not only gathering, but actually impressionable on our children and families. And we've got to have you do what you're doing right there. So thank you for bringing forward these dynamic programs. Yes, we've all been at times, many of us involved with childcare, but I think it's a different ballgame today. And it is more important than we've ever seen in our history within our park system. All right, let's move on to Wendy.
I just have to say that is an amazing program, and I love that you're building people. That just gets my little heartstrings going. So good job. Herriman is a really fast growing suburb of Salt Lake City. And so we have a lot of park projects. Parks are very important to our community. Parks and trails, every survey that we do, they want more and more and more parks and trails. So a lot of our program, or a lot of the things that we're planning for the next couple of years, are surrounding building parks. And we have a lot of new development that we require parks, we require open space. And so some of our projects that we're working on, we're going to open our first dog park this spring. It was built in memory of 2 of our canine officers that were killed in the line of duty over the last couple of years. So the community is really excited about that. It's going to be located in one of our higher density areas. And so those folks are going to be really excited to have a place to take their 4-legged friends. We're also going to break ground on a 70-acre park, which is actually located in a canyon that will connect our urban neighborhoods with our backcountry and our primitive trail system. So that's another, that's a project I've been working on for about 5 years. So I'm excited to finally see us put shovels in the ground.
Yeah.
I'm coming. It's going to have a lot of really great features for mountain bikers, a disc golf course, all sorts of amenities for our residents and guests to enjoy. We continue work on a historic park. One of our early pioneer homes we're working on restoring and doing a historical park surrounding that. And then, as you mentioned, Jody, we're just starting our park foundation. We finally settled on a name, which was a big hurdle to overcome. So the Friends of Herriman Parks, Trails and Culture will be starting in January. So we're excited. I learned a lot at Park Foundation School in August and brought a lot of that information back, and it's been really helpful in getting that program kicked off. So
Wendy, congratulations. I know you were working so hard on that. Folks, here's your Park and Recreation colleagues in the room and National Association of Park Foundation School, which was so great this year. But here's Wendy, our assistant city manager from our field. It was so great to have you a part of that, and way to lead and way to get that done. Congratulations on that. All right, Brian, it's your turn.
Well, 2022 is certainly going to be an interesting and historic year. Our levy campaign will come up, and we're on the ballot once every 10 years. I call it singing for our supper. It's one of the things where we go back and we've really talked about what happened in the last 10 years and what did we promise that the community, what we would do, how are we going to create that 10-minute, access to the parks. And it's really kind of our scorecard moving forward. So our levy campaign will come in the fall. I love the talk about pre-K. A few years back, we started the nature-based preschools, and that's the way I grew up. I grew up out in the woods, and they're taught to bring raincoats and rain boots and hats and gloves, and their classroom is the outdoors. And when they embrace that, it's to see them grow together in nature is just one of the most fascinating things. And so we're looking to continue to add to it. They're small classes, and they're by design. That's what we hope to continue to do. When we talk about opportunities, and Wendy, congratulations on settling on the name. It's the balance and structure of those are always very unique, and we're very blessed that our foundation has raised over $5 million in the last number of years. And one of our new initiatives going forward is to endow every reservation with over $1 million. We've already got 2 done at this point in time. We're at $2 million, so our Rocky River and Brecksville reservation. And the goal is that the principal always stays, and it kicks off money each year for a project. And so whether it's a nature-based playground system, we raised over $500,000 for a facility, all private philanthropic dollars at our Edgewater Park. We had what I call the sad swing set, and now we have this wonderful accessible playground that's there. And so we continue to have that. I think the other thing that we can't forget about is infrastructure. The nice new shiny thing is always like, hey, we're going to do this. It's like, whoa, what about where we're at? And at our Huntington Reservation, we most recently completed the noshery. Restrooms are our biggest, I would say, nemesis. They either love them or hate them. They love the fact that they're there, but then they hate them when they're in them because, some of them aren't. We're very out in nature, and some of them don't necessarily have all the amenities that everybody wants. So we're continuing to add those as we go to really make sure we're looking at our Wallace Lake. We have the longest, tallest toboggan chutes in Ohio. We're looking at creating an Olympic sheet of ice so that we can have outdoor high school hockey games there in the future and more of a looking area. So we're looking at that. Our Wallace Lake looks like something from the 1970s where we just poured concrete and put a roof on it. And that was the way a lot of park structures got built. So we're looking at how do we reframe that for the community. Our Garfield Park, I talked about, a legacy park we're raising $7 million for to bring urban youth and teens to the water. And that's one of the challenges to really embrace people around that. The other thing we're trying to do is complete trails. Our East 9th Street, which is right where the Cleveland Browns play our Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that just hosted the inductions in our Great Lakes Science Center. What's missing is a trail connection through our East 55th, which is one of our marinas, to East 72nd. What happens there is you get into MLK, which is Martin Luther King Boulevard, where all of the historic cultural gardens are. That takes you right into University Circle, where the Cleveland Museum of Art, the Veterans Hospital, our University Circle friends. So we're looking at how do we continue to align this Rubik's Cube. It's very interesting. I was in Milwaukee working for Sue Black. We were north-south, divided by 94. Here we're east-west. And so it's always this balance of where are the money and how do we spend and how do we prioritize? And I always say it's the right time and the right place for the right reasons. And we have funding partners at NOACA, the state, federal funding coming in. And so we're looking at how do we continue to align those in the right ways that we can continue building trails through the east side communities where they've been underserved for years. And then really bringing it back to the zoo. We'll be building a new bear exhibit, a $6.5 million project at the zoo, coupled with the new front entrance that we're going to be doing. And very uniquely, one of our donors actually gave us $3 million to actually rebuild our administration headquarters. Those are sometimes hard dollars to find. And we were very blessed. And they said, how do you raise more dollars with something that looks like it's from the 1970s? And I just looked at them. You mean carpet on the wall is not acceptable? I'm like, that was in. It's probably coming back. And they just started laughing. It's like, no, not so much. So, technology and the components of how we can pull things together. I had a chance a few years back to go to Rwanda and see the gorillas. We've got such great footage, but it can't be really shared anywhere. So we want a living wall where we can really explain, the habitat that they live in and how to immerse yourself into it. So I think 2022, 2023 is going to be a fantastic year. I am concerned about, the supply chain and how we're going to procure things and how we're going to do things. And the last creative thing that we're trying to do is much like Uber Eats and others where, these kids are on these apps and they work for 2 hours. Who wants to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go cut grass or clean toilets or pick garbage? But we're going to have to readjust our calendars and our schedules. And we're trying to create an app for a pool of folks that can say, hey, I can put 4 or 5 hours in. Now you've got to be in it and you've got to be trained. But, it's kind of like an on demand. It's like, hey, I'm willing to work. And we say, hey, we've got flow at Rocky River where we need help there. Because the world, my son's 18, he doesn't know a world without technology. And the traditional, I show up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I work my 8-hour shift, I have a break at 9:15, I eat lunch at noon, and then I'm off. That just isn't going to happen anymore. In these 3-hour, 2-hour, 4-hour, we're going to have to probably do more of our work in the evenings, which isn't necessarily ideal, but we're going to have to adapt with this shrinking workforce as people have kind of left. And these QR codes, they were there for a while a number of years ago, and wham, they're back in. Now everybody's got a QR code. The restaurants, you just hover over it and there's your menu. So we're cutting down on printing. We're cutting down on all these other opportunities. But at some point in time, we're going to have to figure out the supply chain of people. How do we continue to hire? And after we won the national gold medal, as you said, Jody, thank you for the 5th time, we had a number of our staff got poached and they went on to greater things. So we're extremely happy for them. So it gave an opportunity for the rest of our staff to kind of move forward. And I know we're going to highlight some of our staff going forward. So again, thank you so much for allowing us to be part of this wonderful panel today.
Well, Brian, you have brought up a very important topic right here that we've discussed on the show. But one thing people are getting back into is their job corps. And I'm talking about volunteer corps. I'm talking about really creating robust volunteer management programs. And we talked about it on the last show, some of that. So you're going to see more of that. But what you're talking about too is with the youth, you are so right. It is so different today. And we have to be on that network. We have to give some flexibility of how we're going to work with our workforce. You hit so many great topics right there. So folks, if you aren't getting ideas right here, keep listening, because we have programs, we have infrastructure, and now we're talking about technology and also future policy. So you've got it all right here on this group of panelists. Thank you all so much. All right, Anne-Marie, let's go to one of our favorite segments of our show.
Absolutely. Let's do it. So this is the segment that we call Good News in Parks about great people. This is where we give our panel the chance to talk about somebody on their staff that is doing great things. We'd love to be able to, obviously we can only have so many people on the show every month, but all of these people have fantastic people that work with them. So we like to give them the opportunity to talk about those folks. So let's go ahead and get going. And Sherisha, we're going to start with you.
All right, thank you. So this young lady, Sherisha Hill, is part of our rec admin support team. So what she does is we use the rec track system. We started it probably about 10 years ago. She knows the system in and out. She knows it so much that Vermont system calls her to solve some problems at times. That's how good she is. She's instrumental in doing our training, onboarding of new staff so they understand what rec track is. She goes out into the field. She also works with our TNI and updates our webpage. They have given her control of our webpage and she updates it as needed. And usually it's like, hey, Neris, I needed, I don't know, like 30 seconds ago. Can you change something? And she's that person. But I really wanted to highlight her because we were down a position. So I was down a project and services coordinator, somebody who would apply for our grants, who would work with other departments, and who also would do our accreditation or our reaccreditation. And she took the bull by the horns. It's like herding cats around here sometimes. And she really pulled us together to get us reaccredited for the second time. And so I really wanted to highlight her. She's a team player to the max. She is out there working with everyone. She takes all of our pictures. She is our tech savvy person. While going through reaccreditation and working with our visitors, she learned more and kind of stepped out of her normal role of that tech role and getting out into the field and working with our different team members and truly understanding all of our different areas. She was so rejuvenated that she went and got her CPRP. So wanted to highlight her for that. Now she's looking to see what else she can do. She works with our marketing team, our marketing director that's downtown. She was highlighted yesterday in our mayor's internal town hall meeting for working with that. And she's just a great person. So I definitely wanted to highlight her, and yes, Brian, I'm trying to be like you with 5 gold medals. I'm gonna take my one right now for this year. He was instrumental in that, but we kind of forgot about accreditation. It's like, we were so happy with this gold medal, but the reaccreditation again, makes that stamp on what your department does. And she was that lead person to make it happen.
Wow, that is awesome. What a suite of skills. I mean, Neris sounds like one of those people that, when you write down all the things that she's doing and helping with, that's not even a job description. Like, it's so vast and so broad. That's utterly amazing. Great. Thank you for sharing that so much. All right, Brian, let's go on to you. Tell us about Sarah.
What's Neris's phone number?
Poaching, no poaching on the show.
No, Brian.
We're always looking for great talent, but again, congratulations. It's, and to highlight this is truly remarkable. I mean, without our people, our parks are nothing. And Sarah Meyer is one of those people, and she is truly a joy to work with every single day. And I love it when you find people that compliment you. She is a lot of things that I'm not. She is, I like to think I'm detail oriented. She will read the policy manual from the start to the finish on different funding. And she is the author and architect behind the Tiger Grant. And no, Jody, it's not the tigers from the zoo. It's the Transportation Investment Generating Economic Recovery. A great story about that is we were notified from Representative Marcy Kapner's officer about the funding. I took the call. I was so excited and I hung up. I didn't even know what they offered for the funding. I was just so excited that we won that I didn't exactly know the number, but it turned out it was $7.95 million. We coupled that with $5 million from the Cleveland Foundation, $3 million from the Wendy Park Foundation, $2 million from the George Gunn Foundation, $1 million from the state capitol, and did this project called Reconnecting Cleveland. It's really interesting when different areas build trails and then they just kind of end, and a trail to nowhere really isn't a trail experience. So this Reconnecting Cleveland was taking the trails that were built that hadn't necessarily been connected or with new infrastructure and new opportunity. The capstone was a $3.5 million or $6 million project to build the bridge over the top of one of the busiest railroad tracks in the United States. the Norfolk Southern line right at the mouth of the Cuyahoga River. But Sarah is one of those team members that will work with anyone. She is well versed with our municipal planning organization, our MPO. She's an architect of the urban process of how to look at gentrification in various neighborhoods, and is always looking at that opportunity. She's the one that understands how to take the Rubik's Cube of funding and align the dollars so that they work in the different funding years. And it is an extreme challenge to make those things work in the fashion that they do. And so I'd love to highlight Sarah. I'm not exactly sure why she's standing in the river there. It doesn't even look like she has boots on, but I think maybe she's doing the survey. But Sarah is truly one of the joys on our staff, and she goes above and beyond every single day. And she's also stepped out of her comfort zone, and she is also an elected official for the village of Bay Village as a council person. And so I applaud her for her civicism and her give back to the community. So Sarah Meyer.
Awesome. That's fabulous. She looks happy to be in the river. I mean, that's what I love. Like, she's smiling in every picture. That's absolutely awesome. All right, Wendy, your turn. Tell us about Heidi.
All right, it's so true. We are truly nothing without great staff, and we have great staff. And Heidi Shigrud is our landscape architect, and she has the very difficult position of straddling our community development department and our parks department. She is enthusiastic about beautiful and functional outdoor spaces. And she is a driving force behind the water efficiency standards. She keeps our development partners in line and accountable in meeting our landscape standards, especially with the new standards that have come out, and educating them and doing outreach to them so they understand why we're doing what we're doing. She's a certified playground safety inspector. She was one of the first graduates of the National Green Infrastructure Certification Program. That was a few years ago. She keeps all of our park construction projects on schedule. She does all of our public outreach when we're building new parks, and does all of our open houses. She's just an amazing advocate for outdoor spaces, and we're just so lucky to have her. She's also a wonderful mom and wife and baker. She bakes amazing German pancakes. She loves to ski. She loves the outdoors, and we're just lucky and blessed to have her on staff.
Oh, that's awesome. She sounds like a fantastic person and a great asset to have on the team. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. Well, we absolutely, as I said, we love that segment. It is just so much fun. Thank you all for sharing that information with everybody. I think looks like we don't have any active questions right now. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask those. We'll try to get to them. I also just wanted to say too, as someone in marketing, you three have some of the best logos that I've ever seen. I just love them. All three of them are absolutely great. Okay,
I've got a question. I've got a question for this group.
Yeah.
You know, and think about how this group has interacted today and everything that's going on in your departments. How are you marketing and recruiting employees? Because really, you are dynamic departments. You always come through, and everyone depends on you in your community. You're so in the infrastructure of the community. It doesn't matter who even starts on this one, but how are you recruiting right now in this kind of deficit time of trying to get our employees?
Yeah.
Carefully is what I can say. It's a very, this is the gut check. This is go time. When you go into our community and you see local fast food restaurants offering $13 to $18 an hour in shift premiums, I've never seen so many hiring bonuses before across the board for technicians at factories, longevity bonuses. Amazon is an extremely tough one to compete with right now, offering college. We've incentivized our workers with, we have 5 in-house unions, but we did a retention bonus. We really want to thank the people that are currently working for us. As much as we're trying to recruit from the outside, I talked about, some of our staff being recruited, which is fantastic. But that dynamic is extremely hard. I bet we have 80 vacant positions right now. We do a thing called position management. So there is some pushes and pulls to having a little bit of a bank for that. But in general circumstances, we'd like those positions to be filled. You talked about volunteerism. We have over 5,244 active volunteers. We have 5 team members that manage them. It's one of the largest systems that we can. So that they're giving. I mean, Key Bank comes in and they do days of caring. Sherwin-Williams painted the Coast Guard station. We're going to have to get more creative. That Ohio CAT actually, for every person that comes in, they actually donate money that goes with them as part of the program. So we're going to have to continue to figure out, the volunteer side of things. That boomer generation that may have the means and just have kind of stepped out of the workforce. We're going to we had a program years ago called OWLS, Older Workers Leading Success, and we need to figure out how to retool that program to bring people back, because our young folks entering the workforce are wet behind the ears. They don't know a lot of things, and they really need mentors. And so that's going to be a big component of it as well. And like I said, the app is going to be one of the things, but there's a shrinking population. And I will tell you, as much as we're in the park and rec world, and so I'm going to say this, recreation sports that continue throughout the entire year, where there's no off seasons anymore. And if you want to be on this next team and you want to be on this next team, it's very hard to compete with that from a work standpoint and the balance standpoint. So that's why these 2 and 3 hour, 4 hour blocks, I think, are going to be extremely important for us to be as versatile and as agile and nimble as possible. We're doing all of the recruitment techniques that any company would do, but it's a tough world right now. And I don't see it ending in 2022, 2023. I think we're going to be in this for a little bit. So we're going to pull back. We're going to do as much as we possibly can. And we're going to still try to be, the best employer. But we had to raise our rates. We were sitting in that 10 to 12, and our minimum now is 15. Well, I can tell you from an elasticity standpoint of a budget, that's a huge challenge / opportunity. We remain debt free, as I said. And so when you have to put that kind of capital into, a seasonal budget that was probably $7 million for us, now you're talking about approaching that $8-9 million. That's a significant number, but without it, we can't open restaurants. We can't open our lifeguarding situation is extremely tough. We actually had to contract those. We had to shorten the time frame. But we're in this. I mean, we're in it to get our people. And I love the fact it's one of the best parts of my job is when someone gets their first job with the parks. That's how I started. And so I think it's one of those things where parks are with you for life. And when you start, I just met with the president of St. Ed's, a private high school here. His very first job was cutting grass at Rocky River Reservation. And so, and he's 64 and he's retiring. And I said, I've got a mower that has your name on it.
Absolutely. And Lavana, Michigan, they have just reenacted, really focusing on bringing back some of the retirees and the seniors. You've got an instant experience, and you know what? It can be a gap filler right now. And then also they'll even share and teach your workers. So you've hit it. And also their volunteer program, they're reenacted. So anyone else want to address this question?
I think just keeping up with the market. We're not just seeing it in Parks and Recreation, right? We're seeing it across the board in all of our departments, having a hard time finding employees that show up to the interview. Even we'll get them set for an interview and they don't even show up. Wow. And then we're also seeing a lot of poaching. We kind of joked about it earlier between with some of those great employees, but it is a real problem that we're starting to see across our departments, and just keeping up with the market and trying to. There's nothing wrong with paying somebody a living wage, and we just have to figure out how to get there.
Anyone else? All right. Well, what's really key too, I just worked with Shawnee County, and I was working with them about, just some recommendations of trying to help on some of these aspects. But, one of the recommendations might be where if you are a part, and it's a little different for a district, but if you're part of a city county, of just talking to your fellow colleagues and see who their friends are and see who they might talk to that might want to come to work for your city or county or district. So anyway, there's so many ways to slice and dice it, but it is an extreme challenge. Yeah. Also, got another question. I'm on a roll today. Okay, you three are some of the most motivated leaders ever seen in our field. You have the heart, you have the passion. You can hear it loud and clear today. How are you staying motivated? Because You know, so many times your employees are watching you every moment and they're seeing how you're operating and how you're interacting. Please jump in on this one because you're inspirational. That's all there is to it. Don't be shy.
You want to go ahead, Brian, or you want?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think for me, just the motivation comes in from talking to the community and being out there and engaging with them. It's easy to hear what they would like, their passion, and and we here we're civil servants. That's what we do. We serve the community, so we feed off of their passion. What do they want to see? What would they like to see in their community, in their park, in their center, at their pool? So for me, I think it's just feeding off of that, and also just the support that we have, working with other organizations, but our leadership, our council members, they are all for it. They are so supportive. So it's easy to be motivated when you have people that are there and that are cheering you on and clapping. And then are they come and ask you, what can we do for you?
Oh yeah.
You know, so that's for us is huge. It's absolutely huge. But really, the community, we feed off of them. It's almost like in sports with the crowd that's cheering. They're the crowd that's cheering. So we feed off of them to keep pushing and try and put on a performance and a show for them. So
next.
I think, it's interesting that you talk about motivation. I mean, my motto is always forward. And as long as we're moving forward, and I'll be very frank, last year was a tough year. There was a lot of soul searching going through it. I was in the office, but normally 130 people work there. There was me, then my HR, and then some staff started to come back. But it was pretty lonely, and we had to do some really counterintuitive things. We had to close parks, and actually, in order to keep them open. And, we had to respond to the community and the CDCs, and there were more eyes on parks, I think, than ever before in the history of the park and rec world. But, the awesome responsibility we have for our children's grandchildren, whether it's planting a tree, whether it's, teaching a class, whether it's catching a tadpole and telling the story about what happens, or a frog. I mean, we have this awesome responsibility for our environment. I think of climate change and all the things that are going on in the world, and we have a role in that. We're working with the Climate Trust on carbon sequestration, monetizing our forest floors for the very first time. We think we're the first park district to do it for forest health. And how do we actually take the dollars that we're bringing in to actually reforest for our children's grandchildren? And so, the motivation is success breeds success. And you talk about the CAPRA certification. It's a challenge. It's hard. It's arduous. But, your team, when they believe in it, they dig in and they get it done. And then when you talk about the gold standard, nothing less than excellence in our department. I mean, we strive for it every single day. We want to be number one in everything we do. We want to be top of mind in our community. And that's not lost on us. We've preserved over 24,400 plus acres. We're still continuing to grow in a built out community. And I don't know if you need any more motivation than that, but I get up at 5:30 and we're ready to go at them. And my staff, I said, you better have tennis shoes when you come work for us because we're moving.
Well, I'm pretty high velocity, as you know, but Brian, I love being with you. Your energy is amazing. And I've watched you. I'm not sure if you sleep, but all I can tell you is you are one amazing individual that is one of our best leaders. But listen to him. Listen to that insides coming out of that passion. Thank you, Brian. Wendy, you want to comment on this? Because I know you have really been a stalwart of that community from a long time. And thank goodness you have stayed there.
I just agree with what Sherisha said. It's really the community. I feed off what they're passionate about. And sometimes they can be really passionate about things. And we have to temper that passion just a little bit. But it is all about the community. And it is the joy that I get out of seeing people cutting that ribbon and seeing the kids hit that playground, or accomplishing something, kicking a soccer ball, running around the bases at the baseball fields. Those are the things that motivate me and keep me going. So.
Oh, it's wonderful. Because really, that's why we're in this game. It's for the people. It's by the people. And that's who's really, it's the people's parks and community spaces and facilities and programs. That's all the bottom line. And I just got a text just to the folks out there, a couple of professionals asked, yes, you can get an actual version of this to share with your staff. It will be online Anne Marie. I
Yep.
think it'll be online soon on being able to hit a link and go on to our show on demand and actually talk and see these, because you're inspiring everyone on here. You're inspiring some of your colleagues, and they need to hear and want to listen again. Anne Marie, I'm going to turn it back to you because we've got a great show coming up.
Absolutely. And yeah, for those who are interested, we have a YouTube channel. It's Playcore News, all run together, and we post all of the old episodes there. So with the holiday, it might take us a day or two longer than normal for this one, but we will have it up for you by early next week for sure. So the other thing that we started doing with all of the great feedback that we get from our studio audience is giving them a chance to share the great news that's going on in their communities. So we've got a couple great slides for you. First of all, I wanted to thank Brian Carpenter for sharing this story of how the city of Wenatchee, Washington did some really creative and dedicated work to keep their planning efforts going during the pandemic closures. One example, which you can see here, was getting drive up public input on their new playground. So you can see they did a great marketing job, first with posters to announce the event in both English and Spanish, to ensure great attendance, and then organization at the drive-through site to direct traffic flow and observe safe protocols so community members could look at options for the playground from their car and place a sticker on their favorite option. I just love that. What an awesome way to give the community a voice in what the space would look like while still managing all of the challenges that COVID-19 put on their efforts. So congratulations, and thank you again, Brian, for sharing that. Brian was great. He sent this story in, and then I reached out to him, and he reached out to the community and got all these photos and did all this work for putting this together. So I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. This is another great one from Irene Jordahl. Irene, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, wrote to let us know that Fremont, California recently opened 3 new parks and facilities. First, the Lila Bringhurst Community Park at the top is a joint use park with Lila Bringhurst Elementary School, which is awesome. We love those joint use places. And it features a large lawn bordered by a 10-foot wide looping trail. There are shade structures, restrooms, 4 half-court basketball courts, an outdoor classroom with amphitheater seating, play areas, for small kids and older kids, a butterfly garden, and around the entire thing, a 4-foot high perimeter fence to keep everybody safe. So that is really cool.
Wow.
When it's not being used for school, it's being used by the community. So it's a great example of joint use. The Agewell Center, which is the one at lower right there, is a second home for thousands of seniors in the community, and it provides a broad range of classes, workshops, services, and events throughout the year. What a beautiful facility that is. And then finally, the Downtown Event Center and Plaza, which is the bottom left, and was designed to answer a community desire to have a social and civic heart for the city. So it consists of a 13,400 square foot community center and a 1-acre plaza, and that's located in the heart of Fremont. So it's by shopping and restaurants and all the things that you would find in the heart of a downtown community. So congratulations on that. I just love how these 3 projects are so diverse to serve so many different people and different ages. So great job, Fremont. And thank you again, Irene, for sending that in. And then finally, we want to tell you about our last show of the season in December. You do not want to miss this one. We are going to be speaking to some of our youngest directors on their ideas and fresh approaches to innovation. It's a fantastic way to end the season. We know they're going to have some fabulous ideas to share, but don't worry, there's more good news coming in 2022. And on December's show, we'll also be sharing some cool sneak peeks with you into how to register, show topics, who you meet. We're going to have a whole new deliveries for CEUs and certificates that you're absolutely going to love. So be sure to be there and tell your colleagues. You can register, like always, at playcore.com/season2, and we'll see you then. And of course, as always, we have that QR code at the top. So if you want to scan that to take the survey for today's show, please do that. You need to do that for CEUs, but even if you aren't trying to get CEUs, take the survey. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you liked about the show and what you're doing there. So thank you so much for that. And I'm going to stop the slideshow here. We got just a couple minutes left. Jody, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I do have one quick question though for Brian. Because when you were talking before we went live about the zoo and you know what it costs to feed a koala and that kind of thing, and with the challenges of hiring, what do you guys do about, I mean, you know, if somebody's not there to work a certain program, you can stop that program until you can hire, but you can't not feed the animals or clean, you know, up for them. So how do you handle that?
Well, thank you. We've been very blessed at this point in time. We have a wonderful staff and team members that, you know, care deeply and passionately. And, you know, Elena Less is another example of one of those employees that going above and beyond. She's the one that's taking care and shepherding our newest addition, the gorilla baby. And they're working 24-hour shifts. Because of the care needed. We've got a Francois Langer monkey, same thing. Mother wasn't necessarily ready for motherhood. And so we're working through that, but it's no different than, you know, our vet hospital. And, you know, we've got very dedicated staff, like almost every one of us that talk today about our people. They believe in what they get to do. And we're truly blessed with the workforce across the 24,000 acres. But certainly, you know, we've got, you know, always plans and contingencies to make sure that our animals are always taken care of. And keep in mind, most of them, you know, the elephants, they like to feed themselves, right? I mean, as long as they've got hay, they'll reach in and take it. Koalas, they eat very, very slowly, the eucalyptus, and then they take naps in between. But it's really a dynamic zoo. Dr. Chris Kuhar has done an amazing job with, we call it renewing the zoo. Zoo 150 is our heading towards our 150th anniversary.
Wow. That's awesome. Thank you for answering that. Jody, take us out. I think I want a koala vacation. I think eating and napping in between sounds absolutely fabulous for a little.
Well, I'll tell you, what a day. Thank you all so much on a day that many of our cities or counties are on a holiday, or your departments. Really appreciate your time today. Our professionals appreciate it. But you know what? Keep leading us. We're watching. We need you. You are our sheroes and heroes. Thank you three. Great job today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Bye, everybody.
Happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day.